What up, Screen Fiends? I'm GB, and you're tuned in to Headz TV, where we like to discuss all the wonderful things appearing on your movie and your TV screens. In this episode, I'm going to give my predictions for the second half of Season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead, which resumes on September 10th. Okay, so the second half of Fear the Walking Dead, hopefully it's just as good as the first half. Actually, I would like it to be a little bit better. The first half, even though I enjoyed it more than I think I've enjoyed anything from Fear thus far, it still has some work to do. It still needs to tweak certain things to really get me sucked in the way The Walking Dead pulls me in, or the way some other shows pull me in. Because Fear hasn't really grabbed me like that yet, even though I am enjoying this season. Okay, so predictions for the second half. Now, I probably will put out a second one of these a little bit closer to the air date of September 10th. And my predictions may change a little bit, by that time, because I'll have more time to reflect and think, and I'll probably give another rewatch to the first half. So, all right, so Madison. Well, actually, no, let's talk about the communities first, then I'll do the characters. So, as far as the communities go, I believe that we'll get into a situation where Walker's community will join the Brokejaw Ranch, which will be hectic, to say the least. I don't think Brokejaw is going to take too kindly to Walker or Taka and the Native Americans, and I don't think the Native Americans are going to take too kindly to some of the white man that's on their land. But I don't think it's going to be, straight, guns, shoot 'em up. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a conflict in that of these two communities finding it hard to coexist on the same land. Now, and Madison, of course, I think is going to take charge as kind of, I'm not necessarily going to say the leader, but the person who's the mediator between the two communities. So kind of like the leader in respects. Now, I think that Strand will somehow come into play here, where it's going to be kind of convenient if he just wanders upon the Brokejaw Ranch. But, this show kind of takes that convenient, lazy writing route many times, so I wouldn't doubt if that's how it happens. Hopefully it happens a little bit more interesting than that. But Strand will be back, and he'll see Ophelia, and he'll tell Ophelia about her dad, and that'll bring the communities to the dam, and then that's going to start another conflict between Brokejaw and the dam. This is what I believe. Now, it may happen differently in Brokejaw totally gets deteriorated. There's a war between the Native Americans and Brokejaw, and very few people make it out with Madison and group, and then they find Strand and travel to the dam. That's the more likely scenario. But let me just go back to the first scenario for a second. And then we end up in this conflict between Brokejaw and the Native Americans as one community versus the dam as another community. Ophelia caught in the middle, trying to tell Daniel not to kill these people or whatever. But more likely, I think it's going to be that we're going to, early on in the second half, we'll get a conflict between the Native Americans and Brokejaw, which will turn into an inner war where many people will be killed. And then, walkers will rise, zombies will rise, and then it'll be even more chaos than the war, and we'll get a situation where they have to flee, much like the way they had to flee from the farm at the end of season 2 in The Walking Dead. The people I think that would live, I think Troy, I think Jake, of course Alicia, Nick, and Madison. And then, believe it or not, I think that Walker will live and Ophelia. I think Walker is going to become a Daryl type of figure, where he's a tracker. He has very many useful skills. He's not going to get along with the group. He's not going to like a lot of them. He's going to go bump heads with Madison, and he's going to probably hate Jake and Troy as they're going to hate him. Right? So there'll be all this inner conflict. So I think towards the end of the second half of season 3, that's going to be our group. Madison, Alicia, Nick, Walker, Ophelia, Troy, Jake. Those 7. And then Strand. Right? So those 8. And then Strand is going to tell Ophelia about Daniel. They're going to go to the dam. And Daniel's going to say, Ophelia, you can come on in. Everybody else, scoot off. And I really think then that's going to start this conflict, over this safe place, the dam, the super secure place. Plus there's the water situation. It's going to start this conflict between Daniel and the Clarks. Well, that's what we'll call that group. Our fear group, we'll call the Clarks, because, they're the main ones, I guess. And what we're going to see now on a character level is we're going to see Madison go even badder, meaning make even worse choices as a person. I think all the way to about through season 4, Madison should be going badder and badder and badder. And then season 5, if they make it that far, will be Madison's turnaround to start to be good, is how I think it's going to play out. Nick is going to get more and more badass, but I think he's going to stay with a different point of view from Madison, where Madison's going to be doing things bad, but Nick is going to be like, no, you got to, we're still people. We got to be humans. Nick, I think, is going to be that voice of reason on Fear, but I think he's going to get more badass, as we see with him popping Otto. But I don't think he's going to go off the reservation bad. But maybe they will take the whole group down a darker path, which is what it looks like. So, but I think Alicia is going to be the other one to go bad, like Madison, I think. But in a more cerebral way, where I think she's going to start learning how to play people better and how to use whatever gifts God gave her, whether it be her beauty, her brains, or whatever, to circumvent situations and get through situations. Much like the way Carol kind of does it, even though she does it in a gangster way with guns and things, she thinks things out. She's smart and pretty methodical in the way she goes about things. So I think that's how that's going to play out. Troy and Jake, one of them I think will make it out, at least one of them will make it out of the end of season 3. I think both of them will make it through season 3 though, but at least one of them. And one of them will not, in the long run, make it out. But I think one of them will become an integral part of the group. Jake, to me, is the obvious choice to become an integral part of the group. But I think they're setting Jake up to be a Glenn type of character, where he's going to be like an all-around, all-out good guy, always trying to make the right choice so that when he's killed, it hurts our heart. So that's where I think I see Jake going. Probably not this season, maybe, but definitely next season. I think Jake will, or maybe 5, where Jake will go out, and it'll try to affect us in a hurtful way. And then I see Troy having a redemption arc where he becomes a hero type of character, where we all like him and root for him. And then, like I said, Walker, I think, will be like the Daryl of the group, kind of an outcast, but very useful, and it'll eventually grow on the group. But now I think, whereas The Walking Dead, they take our group, the Walking Dead group, on a journey of being relatively good people who end up having to make bad choices and becoming bad people for survival reasons because of it. And then they end up becoming good again to join back in with society at Alexandria. But then that ends up hurting them in the long run. I'm going to do a whole video on this thought of mine. And then it ends up hurting them in the long run, because if they were still savages when they came across Negan, things may have went differently, right? Whereas they may not have lost Glenn, or they may not have been in the situation where, Negan's boot was on their neck, And I think we're going to see the opposite for Madison and group, where I think the whole group may actually go badder and darker, and then become part of a community where they have to become good to fit in with that community, and then they do for a while, and they actually start to become good people for a season or 2, and then something happens where they have to go dark, and then that's going to end up hurting them and putting them back out into the wilderness to where they're not safe anymore. So I think it's going to be like a reverse Walking Dead, like a mirror Walking Dead, which I don't mind, honestly, even though I'm still not a fan of season 2, and it's really hard for me to rewatch it. I can do season 1, even though it's not perfect, and season 3 is getting better. So fingers crossed that the second half of season 3 starts to ramp things up and make it feel a little bit different. I understand some story beats are going to be the same as The Walking Dead. That's okay, as long as they make it fresh and they improve the writing a bit, a little less lazy. They've been better with the inconsistency things, but they need to bring the two things they're missing back into the show. Fear, not back, into the show in general. Fear and the Walking Dead. So they need to bring more walkers, more zombies, and they need to bring more element of fear and tension back into the show. They've been better this season with the tension, but they need to amp up the fear and they need to amp up the dead. So, yeah, that's it for this one. I rambled on long enough. Sound off down below. Let me know what you think about my somewhat predictions for the second half of Season 3 of Fear. Or if you want to talk about anything about Fear, first half, or anything Walking Dead, the world of The Walking Dead related, sound off down below. Love to get into those discussions. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you like the content. And, yep, thank you so much for watching. As always, you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time.